What happens when nobody ever teaches you how to love yourself? Maybe they weren't available, or maybe likely they didn't know how to love themselves. So, what could they show you? What happens is instead of self love, you learn to perform, please, and survive. It's like trying to build a home without ever being given the blueprint. You end up piecing scraps together, hoping it will hold, but deep down, you know it was never built for you. Hi. I'm Jenny Lee, your favorite coach that helps you move from self-abandonment to sovereignty. So I grew up with one parent that had a demanding job and also struggled pretty deeply with her mental health, and another parent who was emotionally unavailable and just didn't know how to connect with me. A sensitive, deep, quiet kid that was often drawn to things he just didn't understand or care about. So on some level, neither of them were able to show me how to love myself, to show me that I was lovable, because their focus and energy was diverted elsewhere. That left me at a young age wondering if the problem was here with me, as kids often do. And later, that meant I was primed to jump at the first chance to get attention, even if it wasn't the best kind. Like, oh yes, please tell me I'm lovable. In other ways, too, if you're fundamentally questioning if you matter, then that's going to impact the path you take in life. Whether you believe enough in yourself to follow your dreams, or if you're going to just fall into what everyone else is saying you should be or do. I finally came to a point of realizing I had mastered self-abandonment, but nobody ever showed me sovereignty and self-love. I wasn't standing in my value, my power, or my authority over my own life. And so I changed that. Because we're blank slates when we're born, really loving yourself, respecting yourself, and living with sovereignty aren't really something you just know how to do. You get taught how to do it. So if no one showed you how, or maybe they showed you the opposite, of course it feels like trying to speak a language you were never taught because you weren't. But even though we're more like blank slates when we land on this planet and into life, there is an innate part of us that knows we inherently matter and are valuable. You see it in your survival instinct. When push comes to shove, your instinct is to survive, to make it through the challenge, to value your life in some way. Self-love, self-respect, and sovereignty is something you can cultivate and wake up to, even if it's been a long time of not operating in this way or seeing yourself in this way. So let's talk about how. Here's the thing. You'll likely not feel all self-loving and self-respecting at first. You have to start where you're at, right here, right now, with however you currently see yourself or feel about yourself. But good news, this moment now is perfect. It's the only moment actually, so it's always perfect. And how you start to really shift this is in your actions, what you do that shows you that you love, care about, and respect yourself. What you do that shows you that you are the authority on what happens in your life. Yes, your beliefs and your self-concept matter. You can work on both things at the same time. What you think about yourself and how you're showing up for yourself. But you'll likely not be able to have deep embodied self-loving beliefs if you aren't actually doing self-loving things for yourself. They have to go together. So what does this look like? It's having that hard conversation, even when you're scared of how the other person will react. It's setting that boundary even when everything in you is so used to folding and just going along with what someone else wants. It's getting honest on where you spend your time and attention and drawing it back from distractions and other people to you and what you truly want in life. Technically, showing up for yourself is going to hurt at first. You'll have to look your fears in the face and say, move out of the way, I'm moving forward. It will feel hard because it's unfamiliar, but then it starts getting easier. Then you start seeing the amazing benefits and results of loving yourself more deeply, which is practiced by showing up for yourself more. You start feeling it because you're doing it, and then it becomes second nature, who you are. I remember when I started doing this more, there was a time I was living with someone who was my landlord slash housemate slash friend. I realized through some hard moments that the dynamic was something that just didn't work for me anymore. I decided I was ready to move out. Because we had a sort of mixed relationship, that felt super scary to say. I also didn't really know what my plan was exactly, but I knew I was no longer a match for what was, and I wasn't going to ignore that anymore. I remember I had said to him, hey, we need to set a time to talk. And when I got home that evening, he was ready, sitting on the couch. which was great. And I said, okay, give me just a minute. I'm going to go settle myself. I'll be right back. So I went up to my bathroom, felt the fear rising because this was the type of thing I would normally avoid and not do. And I knew it wasn't going to be what he wanted to hear, but I just kept taking the next step. I saw myself take a deep breath and then go back down there and have that conversation. I didn't let myself stall. I had decided, and even though I was scared, I moved into action. He was upset, and we had an important conversation. And that decision and that action of showing up for myself is what launched me into full-time travel that I've been doing for this year. What was important is that even though it felt unnatural and unfamiliar and scary to walk down there and have that conversation, I did it anyway. I moved from being someone who was driven by how I felt and allowing my emotions to dictate my actions to someone that would decide and act. I faced the momentary discomfort of a hard conversation because the long-range discomfort of staying in a dynamic that didn't work for me was no longer an option that I entertained. You've got to let yourself become aware that it's more painful to stay where you're at than it is to face the discomfort of change. And as I've kept doing that and showing myself that I can and will do what I need to respect and care for myself, that belief that I matter, that I'm valuable, I get to have higher standards, become more and more embodied in just who I am. Yes, I definitely want to keep growing and expanding, but what's cool is I know I will because I've shown myself that I have. The next time I'm scared about doing something new or showing up for myself in a way I haven't yet, I can look back at all the times I've done it. And this actually worked even at the very beginning. Once I did it one time, I was able to look back and say, hey, I didn't do it though. Even though this still feels really scary, I have done it. I know I can. These actions reinforce new beliefs. And all of this creates a life of sovereignty, where you no longer outsource your worth or wait for someone else to tell you you're valuable. You reclaim the right to take up space, to choose and say yes and no on your terms. So what are your terms? Do you know them? And what's one small way you could show up for your terms this week? When you learn to love yourself, you stop living as a background character in your own life. You stop tolerating one-sided relationships, disrespect, and shrinking your dreams. You start creating not from fear, but from power. And the crazy part, this doesn't just change how you feel, which is wonderful. It changes your opportunities, your relationships, your business, your success. Because everything external starts with how you treat yourself internally, how you show up for you. If this landed with you, know that you don't have to figure it out alone. This is the work I do every day, helping sensitive, heart-led people break free from self-abandonment and step into sovereignty. If you're ready for personal guidance, I offer one-on-one coaching to walk you through this process. And if you want a supportive space to practice and grow, I have just built a new school community with resources, challenges, even a live Monday momentum session to help you build this muscle of self-love, self-trust, and sovereignty step by step. The community is just getting started, so you could be a part of creating something really beautiful. The community is free to try out, so check out the links below. Nobody may have taught you how to love yourself before, but now you get to create the most self-loving, self-respecting, sovereign life on your terms. You get to choose you, and that changes everything.